Your telephoto lens is more versatile than you think. In this video I battle with poor light, poor weather, and only my telephoto lens to shoot panoramics with.
Well, hello, good morning everybody, and welcome back to the channel. If it's a little bit breezy today, so if there's a bit of wind noise, I do apologise. Today's video, we're back at a favourite location of mine, the Dartmoor National Park, but there's a bit of a twist to it. If you remember my last video, my trusty 24-105 lens decided it was going to fail and let me down. It's actually gone back to the Canon repair centre, and I've had the quotation back in. I won't make you hear the pain of that, but it's not cheap to get it repaired. Anyway, it's being done. It'll be back with me soon with a bit of luck. As landscape photographers, or photographers in general really, we need to sort of be available to adapt at any moment that we can. Our equipment can fail us, our lenses, in this case, the weather can fail us as well, and even the locations can let us down. Sometimes they're not exactly what we expected. I'm faced with a double hit today. Obviously I haven't got my 24-105 as I explained, so I've had an equipment failure which I need to deal with, and also I've got the situation where I've come out to take some photographs, which we are going to try and do, but the weather conditions have let me down. It is so dull, it is so flat, the lighting is so bad. I've not seen it like this for such a long time. So we're going to have to try and make the most of those conditions and do the best we can with it. Today we're going to be using the 70-300 lens, and you may remember I did a video some time ago explaining how good it is sometimes to go out and practice with one lens and find out what you can do with it, and that's going to prove today to have been really valuable for me personally as a photographer, because that's exactly what I've got to do today. I've got to work with the equipment that I've got. The plan today is to shoot some panoramics using the 70-300. Now obviously that's not a very wide angle lens, so we're going to be stitching those together, and you may well ask, why on earth would you want to shoot panoramics with a telephoto lens? Well, actually, one, out of necessity today, but there's also some very good reasons why you would do it. And even when I've got my 24-105, I'll quite often use my 70-300 for my pano pictures. So I'm going to find a better location to stand and take these images from, because I've got an idea in mind, and we'll get the camera set up and obviously take you on that journey with us. So come on, let's go and see what we can actually find. It's been quite difficult to actually find a position to take these photographs, and I think the reason is because I've got, like I said, it's the lighting conditions, and I've had to try and find somewhere where I can get some sort of relief against the main subject in the foreground, in the background, and I've kind of achieved that. I could go a bit higher up, a bit lower down, and try and juggle it about a bit more, but I'm reasonably happy with what I've got, because I want to take this panoramic picture as well. So I've had to compose with my feet really, by moving backwards and forwards a bit and finding a good position. But let's talk a bit more about why you want to use a telephoto lens or a 75-300 or whatever for your panoramic photographs. Well, I'm going to be taking the pictures as close to 300mm as I can, this particular one. And the reason I'm doing that is because the optical properties of the 70-300 lens at the 300mm end is to compress that perspective. And what that means is that distant objects appear closer than they actually are. So in this case, it's going to look like the hills behind are very close to the spoil heap from the quarry workings that I'm photographing. And also, it's going to bring the background hills much closer to the old ruined workers' cottages, which are going to form one end of the composition. So that's why I'm using it in this case, to compress that perspective and bring things closer together. So I'm going to get the camera set up and then we can take it from there. So I've been fiddling about with the tripod legs and position to try and get this in the right place to take the images that I want to take. I've already had a quick look at where the tripod's going to go and what my composition is going to be, so I'm happy with the position of the tripod. The amount of care and attention I was taking into the leg position is to try and level the tripod. And the reason for that is that when you're shooting a panoramic, if those tripod legs aren't level, the camera won't move through a level plane when you rotate the camera. So you're going to scribe an arc either upwards or downwards, which when you come to stitch those images together, it's going to cause you some processing issues, and that's something you need to consider. So you can just about see the bubble there moving, and I kind of accept the fact that I'm never going to get it 100% completely accurate and exactly where I need it to be, because, you know, we're on soft spongy ground, which doesn't make it easy. But as long as I can get that bubble pretty much inside the circle, I'm happy. And what we'll do is when we take the image, we'll leave extra space around the edges so that we've got a little bit of room to crop out any of that misalignment. Right, let's get the camera on here and get some images taken. So really that's my first tip that I would say, really, is make sure that your tripod is as level as it possibly can. Well, I've got the camera set up and I've taken a number of pictures. One of the things you've got to be really careful about when you line these images up and when you put them together is that you leave enough overlap so that you can line your images up. So I've just got a few left to take, and then I'll show you the image and you can tell me what you think in the comments below. And I like to finish off my last picture and my first one as well, to be honest, with a picture of my hand in front of the lens just as a marker for the beginning and the end. So have a look at these images, see what you think, and whilst you're doing that, I'm going to finish my coffee and yeah, pack up and see you at the next location. Well, I've just spent the last sort of like 20-30 minutes battling over rocks and getting really rather muddy and wet and through boggy patches as well, trying to get to this location inside the quarry where I wanted to take some photographs. Now, I've actually done it before, but I had it in my mind that I could come back and shoot a particular panoramic in here. And it's funny how your memory can deceive you, because it's nothing like I want it to be. It's similar, but it's just not going to work with what I'm trying today. So a little bit of disappointment. I have to move on and find some more locations. And I'm sure you can probably hear in the background there's quite a lot of noise and voices. And last time I was here, you know, about 2-3 years ago, then this place would have been completely empty and deserted. I don't do well taking photographs when there's people about. I like to enjoy the outdoors and the countryside as it is. So I'm going to have to battle out and move on to my next location. One of the very odd things about landscape photography is you really never know what's around the corner, do you? And despite being really sort of disappointed that I couldn't take the last picture, and I am genuinely disappointed, it's something I wanted to do for a long time, I've walked back the way that I came slightly, and I've found a new composition for the previous photograph. I'm much closer to it, but I kind of like the way that it works. The only thing is there's a lot of mess and foreground and stuff around it, so I'm not quite sure how it's going to work. But one of the advantages, of course, of taking telephoto sort of panoramics is that you have got this ability to zoom in really quite close on your subject. So doing it this way might actually help. It might give me the opportunity to zoom in and cut out some of that clutter that's around it. So we're just gonna have to see how it goes. So I've got a composition. It may work, it may not, but I think I'm going to put it up anyway. I'm going to do it. I'm going to talk you through the process and share a few more panoramic tips with you as I do it. And then when you see the two compositions, maybe you can comment below and decide whether or not you think this is better or whether the other one was the better picture. So once again, time for me to get the camera out and get set up and take this photograph. Well, I wasn't expecting that. It's decided to start raining. I've actually just taken the pictures quickly because the weather was coming in. I didn't want to miss the opportunity to do it, but I do want to talk you through how I've set this composition up. I'll show you the finished image later on anyway, but basically, I don't know if I mentioned it when I took the last picture, but I always turn my camera when I'm shooting panoramics in the vertical format. So the camera isn't in its normal format this way. I turn it vertical. And the reason I do that is because as you're going to take a panoramic anyway, you could of course stitch together less photographs if you had it that way, because you can cover a wider field of vision. But when you turn your camera this way, you're making best use of the number of pixels that you've got. And also you give yourself the opportunity to have a slightly higher rather than wide panoramic. So by doing it this way, I'm making full use of the vertical number of pixels and then adding those up as I go through the composition. And that's the reason that I tend to do it. I'm sure there's other reasons as well, and if you know of them, please put them in the comments below so that we can all share that information. But that's the reason that I do it. The other thing I do, obviously, when I'm rotating the camera through the various stages of taking the image, what I try and do is overlap the photographs as much as I can. So I want about a third of an overlap so that I've got something decent for the camera, something decent for Photoshop or Lightroom, whatever software you use to actually stitch the images together with and see what it's doing. So I've got a few other pictures left to take. Hopefully I'm going to find one more composition, but the weather is coming in really quite nasty at the moment, so we're just going to have to see what we can find and what we can do. I've got one other idea, and we're going to go and have a look at that now. Hopefully you can see me and there's not too much water getting on the lens, but we'll just have to see how it goes. Right, hope you enjoy this photograph. Like I said, don't forget the previous composition. I'd like to know which one you think is best.
For me, this composition works best. Bringing these three elements together with the tour sat nicely on a third seems to hold together better than the first composition.
Okay, so I'm really struggling to film video, absolutely anything for you now. It's really coming quite horrible. But that's Dartmoor for you. I don't think this was actually forecasted, but we've got it anyway. I apologise for the rain that's now landing on the lens, but that's about all I can do. So the last picture I've taken, I've just set it up, I've taken that composition for you, and I'll show you that final picture at the end. But I'm really rushing a bit now to get this last tip in for you. And the only thing I want to sort of add is that when I take these photographs, the last tip that I do is I put everything in manual. I don't want the focus shifting in between images. I don't want the exposure shifting. So I'm working in manual exposure, manual focusing as well, just to make sure that we've got absolutely everything solid and lined up properly. I'm not sure how the depth of field is going to work out on this one. The rain's coming down, I'm struggling, I'm getting wet, the camera's getting wet, Ruby's getting wet, so we're going to pack up, make our way back to the car, and I'll show you this photograph after we've processed it and got it there. The other thing, of course, as well, is that one of the great things about taking photographs in this way is it challenges your mind and gets you thinking again, and that's what a lot of my videos are about. So I do really hope that you've enjoyed this one. I hope you enjoy this final photograph, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. Also, subscribe to my channel. I've got more fantastic content coming and lined up. There's more about using telephoto lenses for your landscape photography already in the channel, so go and check those videos out as well, and I'll see you next time. Get out and enjoy your photography.
This is my favourite photograph of the day. The intersection of the spoil heaps creating the V works well. It gives you a focal point, draws your eye into the image and onto the tour in the background. Keeping this as a pano gives a sense of space and barren landscape behind. There is a lot more potential here, and I'm sure this is a location and an idea that I will return to in the future.